power settings is another one of those things that exists partly on the control panel and partly in the settings app. To make things more complicated, you won't find the same power settings on a laptop as you do on a desktop, because of course power settings are designed primarily for laptops in order to conserve the battery. However, it does have some screen saving functions and so on. So the power settings, let's actually open up, I'm on a desktop here, so I don't have an icon, a battery icon down here I can click on. So I'm just going to go ahead and click in this search box and type power options. And I'll get power and sleep settings. That's the one I want. So you can see here that it's part of home system and then down here under power and sleep. Now I only see a couple of settings here. When plugged in, turn off after 2 hours. When plugged in, sleep, never. So I never want this to go to sleep. And then I have some performance versus energy options down here, a slider. That's about all I have. There's not very much here. So remember back when we talked about ease of access, I said there's much more in the settings app than there is in the control panel. In the case of the power options, there's much more in the control panel than there is in the settings app. So if I go over here to advanced power settings, it will open up for me the control panel where I have a lot more functionality. And you can see here I've got something called Rogers Power Plan and Power Saver. Now that's interesting. You can see if I click this little arrow I get even more, and that's because I can create a custom plan as I did here, and I named it after myself so that I can switch between them quite quickly. If I just click change plan settings, I can change that specific plan, but again there's not very much here. When do I want to turn off the display and when do I want the computer to go to sleep? But if I click change advanced power settings, that's where I can really get granular. Here I can decide when I want the hard drive to shut down, when I want my wireless adapters to shut down, my desktop background settings, and various sleep settings. There's a sleep, a hibernate, and a hybrid. By the way, sleep means that it just keeps your memory running so that your programs that are running in the background, it'll keep those running but in a very low power state so that when you start it back up, they're already running. Hibernate means that it's going to write the state of those applications to the disk and then shut itself completely down, so there's no power usage at all. So it's a little bit slower bringing it back up than sleep, but at least it brings it back up faster and everything's in its place as it brings it up. Finally, there's hybrid, and hybrid sleep is kind of a combination of the two. It puts it to sleep, but it doesn't save everything in RAM. Instead, it writes it to the hard disk and then goes into a low power state. So it's a combination of the two of them. Here are settings for USB devices, PCI Express card if I have one of those, the display itself, turn off the display after a certain period of time, and so on. So you see I have a lot more granular stuff here that I can choose. I'll just go ahead and cancel out of that. So here you can see I have many options, including create a power plan, in which case I can now create my own and then name it. So those are the power options. Get to know basically what these things are. Get to know the difference between sleep, hybrid, and hibernate, and the fact that you can make these custom plans for your own use.